Hey guys, welcome to the ATP project. You're with your host Steve and Nick.
Hey
Steve.
Nick, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Steve?
How are you feeling today?
You know what, Steve? I'm a little bit tired.
Oh, isn't that funny? Like when we're talking about what topics we do, and this topic today, it's basically on fatigue.
Yes.
So that's why I asked Nick how she's feeling. You know, it's like I don't care how she feels really.
No, you don't care. You never,
I'm
you
joking.
never even care how I feel.
I'm joking. I always care how you feel. But, you know, like it's like fatigue. Now, you know, I think we can start off by saying what we're not going to talk about today. Okay, so right now, it's the date is the I can't read my I got a little date on. But anyway, it's Olympic Games time. It's
end of July.
End of July.
29th.
29th of July. See, I told you it was 29th of July. And right now the Olympic Games are on. Now, because they're in Paris, we have to stay up till all hours of the night to watch the Olympic Games. So if you do that, you're going to be fatigued.
Yes.
We're not talking about that sort of fatigue.
No.
That's very well explained that everyone gets if you're up late or you got a crazy German Shepherd you have to lead out to the toilet at night.
Yeah.
Anyone, you know, like that?
Yeah. No, I know someone like that,
Yeah. So fatigue is a weird one because it's very diffuse. It's very it's nebulous. It's grey. Mm. Yeah, because we're not talking about the fatigue that you didn't sleep well last night.
Yeah, no, we're going to talk more about things that you maybe don't think can be associated or could be a driver of fatigue. And when we were talking about topics, you know, one of the start people in the office actually said, let's talk about fatigue because he's always tired.
Yes,
He's always tired. And I thought, you know what, this is probably one of the main things I see in clinic, or you know, they come for something else, but they've always got fatigue.
Yeah.
So it's always present. So, and I think most people do have an element of fatigue a lot of the time, and some people all the time. And so we wanted to talk about some possible drivers that maybe you wouldn't associate, like, you know, lack of sleep and things like that. So and there's quite a list.
Oh, there's a massive list. I want to start off with this. Look at this paper.
No,
I mean,
it's like it even looks old.
It looks old because it is old. You know, and this was published in the 18th century.
Was it?
Yeah,
that's pretty old.
And it was the first paper that I ever read, or that talked about mental fatigue and exercise.
Oh, there you go.
And it says basically the Journal of the American Medical Association from 1896 suggests that if you get mentally fatigued, then you should exercise. And they were specifically talking about children and the need for them to be physically active.
Yeah, there you go.
Isn't that amazing?
Back in 1896.
1896. The continued medical and school children are often put through a course of gymnastics to dissipate their mental fatigue after the morning study.
There you go.
And it's like they're talking about fatigue back then in 1896 for children that need to exercise. But have a look at what so exercise is good for mental fatigue.
Yeah.
If you're physically tired, but mental fatigue is mostly what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
And exercise is great for that, and we've known that since the 18th century. But the weird thing about this is that think about these days and the kids today.
I know. They don't do a lot of exercise, do they? They do a lot of thumb exercises.
They do a lot of...
They're gaming.
Yeah, gaming. And you know, like computer games were around a little bit when I was a kid. Space Invaders came out in 1980. Yeah. Do you remember Space Invaders?
Is that the one where you shoot them? Yeah, and they used to go across the bottom? Yeah, I remember that.
That was 1980.
That and Pac-Man, they're the two that I grew up with.
Oh, Pac-Man.
Yeah.
That was, that was huge.
Yeah.
But they cost 20 cents.
Yeah.
And you know, when I was a kid, didn't have any money, of course. So my family split up when I was 5 and single parent and all this sort of stuff and public school. And so the games were 20 cents and you couldn't just play them for hours and hours and hours. Nowadays, they're free and you can play them for hours and hours and hours and hours. Yeah. And there's so much, not just Pac-Man and, those sort of Atari games, but all the games on I don't even know what the hell they are.
There's so many.
Minecraft
they just download them all now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they do cost, but they do that. Yeah, and they just play all day and all night, and it's crazy. I mean,
the mental fatigue and that is crazy. But there's lots of other fatigue we're going to talk about today, and all different causes and that. And I mean, I've got some studies here and all that sort of thing about different supplements, and this one was published a week ago.
Perfect.
So yes, I do 18th century studies, and this one was published exactly 1 week ago.
Yeah.
So, pretty interesting stuff. But fatigue, I mean, I noticed at the top of your list of fatigue things, you've got adrenal maladaptation, which is which is really interesting. Do you want to explain about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably one of the more well-known ones because I actually had adrenal maladaptation and thyroid dysfunction, but adrenal maladaptation we've talked about many times, the HPA axis, hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis. And then, you can that can become dysregulated for different reasons, many different reasons. But then that can impact your energy production and cause fatigue. So that's one reason. And then thyroid dysfunction as well can, but not always, I have to say. I mean, I see quite a few people with thyroid issues that don't have a lot of fatigue. So it depends, but they're probably the more common things that people would associate if they're thinking about that. So I thought we'd just quickly brush over them. That is definitely some reasons, but we don't need to focus too much on that.
Absolutely.
Mitochondrial dysfunction, and we've talked about mitochondrial issues many times in other podcasts.
The mitochondria are DNA in the cells. We've got DNA in two parts of the cells, which is the nucleus and the mitochondria. And the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell where you produce all the energy. So if you've got a problem there, you don't produce energy.
You don't. And there's so many reasons that they can have issues.
Well, what are some of the reasons?
Infections is a big one.
Yeah.
Mold infection, viral infections, bacterial, parasitic, all of those types of things.
And we've all experienced that.
All of it, all of us.
Yeah, we've all had that virus where you're just like, and and that's not that. Again, that's definitely fatigue, but it's literally supposed to be there because you don't want to be running marathons when you got a virus.
You wouldn't want to, would you? No. So that's.
I still go to the gym if I'm feeling a bit flat. I'll go for a run.
Yes.
I'm really, I don't. People say you listen to your body, and you should, but I don't.
Yeah,
sometimes.
No, I know naturopaths don't sometimes.
We don't.
I do now more a little bit. I'm older, but not never used to.
Yeah, at your age, you've got to listen to it. No,
thanks, Steve. I do these days.
It's funny.
But heavy metals, nutrient deficiencies,
right?
Anything that can cause inflammation can then impact your mitochondrial function and cause fatigue. So that's a fairly common one that I see, but people aren't aware that it's mitochondrial issues because they come to me from, say, a mold infection, or they've got a underlying chronic viral, low-grade viral infection, things like that, or nutrient deficiencies, which we'll talk about. But that's all impacting their mitochondria, which is why they're tired.
The most potent thing against the mitochondria is a chemical called cyanide.
Yeah, yes.
Everyone's heard of cyanide, have they? CN minus, the chemical, and that basically stops the Krebs cycle. So literally, so we're not talking about stopping it, but heavy metals like arsenics and mercuries and leads and those sort of things slow down dramatically the Krebs cycle and the mitochondrial cycle, what they call the electron transfer chain, which is where you make most of your ATP/energy from.
That's it.
So quite incredible. Now, nutrient deficiencies, if you've ever seen a picture of the Krebs cycle, it's got all these NADs and FADs and all these, I'm not making this up, but NADH is niacinamide-adenosine dinucleotide hydrogen, FAD, and that's vitamin B2 and B3.
Yeah.
So if you're deficient in one of those, you can't make energy.
No.
You're like screwed.
Yeah.
But before you even, so a nutrient deficiency is vitally important here.
Yeah. And it's really funny because people don't, I guess, look at the importance of a nutrient deficiency because these nutrients are all precursors for different, cycles in our body. And so, something like a simple, B3 or B1 or deficiency can significantly impact some of these cycles. So methylation cycle, Krebs cycle, all of that sort of thing. And, can cause some fairly significant dysregulation.
Well, absolutely. And while we're on the B vitamins, cyanocobalamin, which has cyanide in it, by the way.
Yeah, it does, yes.
Cyanocobalamin. I saw an influencer saying this drink, and I can't remember the guy's name, it was a guy, and he said, don't drink this stuff. It's got 4 times the amount of cyanide as you're supposed to have. And it's like, what's he talking about? And it was cyanocobalamin B12 without you die. Yeah. So you need it.
Yes.
So it depends on the form of cyanide. In that form, you need it. It's vitamin B12.
Yes.
But isn't it funny how, and this is what we battle a lot is influencers. I call them influencers because my wife does. I don't think they influence anything.
She's not an influencer. She watches the influencers.
She watches them.
Yeah.
And mildly educated. She's a nurse?
Yeah, she's
So
smart.
is that the polite thing to say?
I'll back you.
I
Beck,
mean, in
you're
nutrition,
smart.
miles
Well,
educated.
you're smart, except you did marry Steve, so I don't
She did
know.
marry me. We've been married about 3 years now, so she hasn't learned her lesson,
No,
obviously.
she hasn't learned a lesson.
Oh dear. But yeah, so B12. I mean, if you're lacking B12, you get a type of anemia called pernicious anemia.
Yeah.
And I know pernicious anemia because my cat Flatface had pernicious anemia.
Did he?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know he had pernicious anemia. There you
He
go.
did. He had to have B12 injections.
Oh, poor fella.
And it's funny because Beck, the nurse, injects any adult with all these benzos and all this crap she does in the hospital every day. But injecting the cat's like the biggest drama. And it's only a sub-Q under the skin.
Oh, no, but it's her pet. So
Oh, yeah. And I was freaking out too. I think you could stab me, but not the poor Flatface cat.
Poor Flatface.
But Flatface, because he was very fatigued. And after the B12 shots, because he had a bad gut. And you need intrinsic factor to absorb B12. So that's another thing. If you've got gut disorders, like a inflamed stomach, you can't absorb B12, you're going to be fatigued.
That's right. Yeah. I've got gut disorders on the list there,
It's
Steve-o.
coming down the list.
Coming along. It's coming up. Yeah.
And also you get poor iron absorption. Now tell me about iron a bit. What does iron do in the body?
So people know that a lot of people obviously know low iron can cause fatigue.
Yes.
So, I just need to up my iron again. So people then just take a supplement, but they don't look for the cause of the low iron.
Exactly.
I mean, what's the point of just continuing? Otherwise, you're continually going to be always taking a supplement, and then a lot of times that won't work depending on what's going on. But it removes, it reduces hemoglobin production. So, and it's needed to carry oxygen around the body. Obviously, if you're low oxygen, you can't oxygenate yourself. You get fatigued. Yeah. So a lot of the reasons can be malabsorption. That's probably one of the biggest ones I see. And there's usually a pattern with malabsorption, and it's low B12, low iron, low zinc. They're the ones that I generally see all low, and that's usually can be malabsorption. So for some reason you're not absorbing it in the gut, high stress, whatever reason, dysbiosis. Diet, obviously. So people on plant-based diets, all that type of thing.
Those people.
Those people.
They sneak in with the humans, No, I'm joking.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's funny. Just quickly on oxygen and iron, it's like a car. If I remember when I was doing a four-wheel drive trip in my old Nissan, and it was just starting to we were out west, and it was starting to literally, it just wouldn't take off. It was very sluggish, and I thought, what could this be? And anyway, so I stopped and I looked under the hood and everything, and not being a mechanic, I pulled out the air filter and banged it, and this pile of dust flew out of it. And I had a spare one in the back. Yeah. So I just chucked that one in the bin, put new air filter in, more oxygenation to the engine. It was burning energy again. Yeah. It's like iron deficiency.
Yeah.
Oxygen plus food equals energy.
Well, you look at a fire. If you don't have oxygen on a fire, it burns out.
Yep.
So you need You need to have that. So yes, bacterial infections and parasitic infections, we've talked about that. Bacterial infections, and that's why if you have an underlying infection and you take an iron supplement, sometimes it can be the worst thing you can do because you're just feeding the bacterial infection or the parasite, so and making that worse. So there's some of the underlying causes that you can get from iron, can cause iron deficiency.
And iron deficiency is one thing, but I remember I had iron deficiency in the olden days when I had my arthritis. And you know what caused it? Taking too many non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs.
Iodine deficiencies?
Because it caused bleeding in the gut.
Ah.
And the bleeding was going through.
Yeah.
And they tested my iron. It was extraordinarily low. And they said, you got to eat red meat. I said, I do. I love red meat. Eat all the, so they tested my stool. There was blood in the stool.
Yeah.
And it's and then I had to go on a different anti-inflammatory. But it was less to go in the gut.
Destructive, yeah.
Put me on sulfasalazine, which destroys folic acid.
Yes.
So, different stuff. So,
and then if you have low folate, then you get a whole other lot of issues, right?
But I was extraordinarily fatigued when I had the arthritis because inflammation drives. We'll get to that bit.
We'll get to that bit too, yeah.
But now of course, folate. You've got folate down there.
Yep. So, folate, as I said, low folate.
Yep.
That can impact your red blood cells' health as well. And interestingly, high folate can actually mask a B12 deficiency as well. So you've got to be careful when you're reading bloods to look at that also because it can actually falsely elevate your B12 if your folate's quite high.
Right, yes.
So people go, no, my B12's fine. I'm like, I think there's still deficiencies there.
It does mask it. And folate is a tricky one because you can go to the pharmacy and get a vitamin of 5 milligrams of folic acid, which is called megafol, I think.
Yeah.
My memory serves me, and that's what a lot of women take before they fall pregnant.
Yes.
But it's a huge dose, a massive dose of one vitamin. It's always tricky.
It's folic acid as well, which can have its own problems, not folate. Interestingly, I was speaking to someone yesterday who's plant-based, and they have some health issues, and they were having a lot of nutritional yeast, which is really common for plant-based people on plant-based diets, because they use it as a cheese replacer and all that sort of thing. It's quite tasty, but a lot of people don't realise that they've got added the bees are added. They're not natural. They're not naturally in it, so they add in the bees. Yeah. So they add in, and it's generally cyanocobalamin and folic acid.
Right.
And if someone has a MTHFR polymorphism or an issue with their methylation, and they're loading up on folic acid and cyanocobalamin, that just can become going to toxic levels, and that can cause a lot of problems. So she didn't realise she was just like downing a lot of the nutritional yeast, and the condition she had really could have been affected by her methylation cycle.
Wow, yeah.
So they're little things that you've got to be careful of. But your folic acid, you've got to be careful, because some people can't metabolize it effectively, and therefore it just builds up to toxic levels.
It's strange, because a lot of people don't know there's different types of B12. Like you mentioned cyanocobalamin, that's a common one, the cheap one. You got methylcobalamin, you got hydroxycobalamin, and probably a few other cobalamins you can think of. Yeah. Because you're a practitioner, you see people, and you have to counsel them on nutrition every day. If you Google Nicole Brown Naturopathy, you're still in practice today, still practicing, seeing patients and going through this with them on an ad nauseum level. Now, so that's the bees, very interesting. Next one's magnesium. Well, tell me about that.
Yeah, magnesium. And how many people, look, I see magnesium deficiencies across the board, like always. And obviously magnesium is involved in that in so many different cycles again. It can be depleted by stress really easily. So, and a lot of people that take magnesium don't take enough either. I find the doses, so they might take 150 milligrams a day of magnesium, think they're doing really well. I have people dosing up to 700-800 milligrams a day. Sometimes. In
that water bottle, there's there's 450 milligrams of elemental magnesium. Yeah. Now, how do I know that?
I know, you know that.
But it's funny because, and I might be talking out of school, so you may have to edit this out, but you took magnesium, a special type of magnesium the other night. How did you sleep on it?
So good. So I slept the best I've ever had. I took 4 different types of magnesium.
4 different types of magnesium.
Yeah, but I just started taking this particular magnesium, and I actually did sleep amazingly. But I took I do high dose magnesium for myself, so I do 700 milligrams a day of magnesium. I sometimes do more. Sometimes more. But I guess your tolerance, because you'll just get the runs if you have too much magnesium, right?
Now you tell me.
Yeah, no, sorry, Steve. But I
better not drink too much of this. I'm going to drink the whole thing in this podcast.
Yeah.
But that's 4 different types of magnesium. Now this is something that a lot of people. So, and this is a bit of a loaded question. Does magnesium, because I'm drinking it now during a podcast. Now, it won't put me to sleep.
No.
In fact, it gives you energy.
Yes.
Yet it helps you sleep.
Yes.
You like that? Isn't that interesting, that dichotomy?
Yeah.
And there's nothing in medicine that does that.
No.
Like if you want to go to sleep, you'll take a sleeping tablet. Yeah. You'll feel sleepy no matter what you do, whatever. But magnesium is a great regulator.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I take magnesium at night. For clients, I prescribe magnesium at night to help them sleep, and then I give them magnesium in the morning for their energy throughout the day. So
incredible, isn't it? It's like the ashwagandha herb. It's great for sleep and great for energy.
Yeah, it's a good modulator.
But magnesium is great. And this is 4 different types of magnesium in there. It's got the orotate, glycinate, citrate, and the threonate.
Yeah.
And I'm drinking it now. I mean, and I'm trying not to be drowsy because we've got a podcast to do.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, the next one's vitamin D. This is a really interesting one.
Yeah.
Because tell us about vitamin D.
So vitamin D, we all know vitamin D is super important, but low vitamin D levels can definitely impact fatigue.
Yep.
So vitamin D helps to reduce oxidative stress is one of its things. It's very good for immune regulation as well, inflammation, that type of thing. So, and it also increases skeletal muscle mitochondrial function. So, if you've got fatigued muscles, you can actually make you feel quite tired as well, like physically tired. So you want to have good levels of vitamin D as well. Ideally, not above well, ideally more than above 30, which is what the GPs generally recommend is above 30.
30, I'd go 50, but
I go 100 to 120.
Yeah, that's about the optimal level, yeah.
So that's optimal, but you definitely want to be well above 50. And I generally, because, I mean, obviously I see a population of people who have health issues, so I like to push it up over 100.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, low vitamin D, and low vitamin D also can cause mood issues, so low mood, depressive moods.
Yes.
And then depression then can create fatigue as well.
Yes.
So there's that sort of connection.
Incredible. Now you can get vitamin D in supplements, but you probably like me like to get it from the sun.
Yeah, like everything, and I say to clients, look, food first, and everything that our body is good at synthesizing, is meant to synthesize first and then supplement. So get out in the sun. Yeah. Don't just say, well, I'm not a sun person, I'll just take the supplements. It's just absorbed and assimilated better if you get through sun, because that's how we're supposed to get it. But if you can't, and if you work in an office all day, you don't see the light, live in a place that doesn't have a lot of sunshine, then you will need to supplement. So,
like I live on the Gold Coast, so I can duck down the beach in my bikini and be very happy.
You can, I know. I've seen you down there in your bikini, out strutting on the beach there.
Oh, Jesus. but in honesty, when I swim, I swim in an outdoor pool, and I'm practically naked.
Yeah, well, I mean,
90% of my skin's exposed.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You want to get it on parts of your skin that don't generally see as much sunshine, so that underneath of your arms, it's a bit, or your stomach, if you don't walk around with the shirt off all the time, or parts of your body that are actually a little paler. So people have very dark skin, really struggle to absorb their vitamin D through their skin as well. So the paler, the more you'll absorb it. Obviously, you don't want to burn. So if you've got really pale skin or English skin, you just minimize the time that you're out there, but definitely get some sunshine where you can. You're going to definitely have fatigue if you are just low in vitamin D.
And weirdly, like we're starting to get into the treatment area, but that was exercise plus vitamin D plus swimming is very good. It helps you relax and helps you sleep better, which will okay, so that's very interesting with some of the vitamins. What about something simple like not drinking enough water?
Yeah, dehydration. Really common for me to see people who have dehydrated, don't drink enough water, can cause significant fatigue if you're dehydrated. Yeah. So, one, dehydration can cause inflammation, believe it or not, in the body, so that then activates the immune response, creates inflammation. Your cells need it, and it can cause blood sugar dysregulation as well. And for a lot of people who are dehydrated eat more because they think they're hungry when they're actually thirsty. So they're eating high carb or sugary snacks and things. And so their blood sugar is going up and down, and that's causing them to become quite fatigued. So simply not drinking enough water can actually make you quite tired. And that's something that a lot of people don't think about.
Well, this water's got some collagen in it, but it's mainly magnesium and water. So, I mean, it's a great way to kill two birds with one stone, for example. Yeah. And it tastes good because of the magnesium it's got it flavoured, so it's nicely sweetened, so beautiful. So plus it makes me drink more because I enjoy it more than water. Yeah. So great way to do it. Okay, let's get the elephant in the room. What about diet?
Okay, this is a big one. I mean,
this is a big one.
People, for the most people, probably our audience would be aware that poor diet can cause a lot of fatigue. Yep. But yes, it can. So processed food's one of them, obviously. Yep. Create inflammation in the body, cause blood sugar spikes and drops, things like that, and lack of nutrients. So you'll end up with nutrient deficiencies if you're having a lot of processed foods, not a lot of fresh foods, that type of thing. High sugar diets, or not even high sugar diets, but people, and I see this a lot in clinic too, people have really healthy diet, but then they have sugary snacks. So their main meals are very healthy, but they have a lot of sugary snacks, and that's because they can have energy production issues, so they become sugar burners, not fat burners. So they get hungry, so I need something to eat quickly. I'm feeling a bit shaky and sick, and so they have something spike their blood sugar, and then because it's a quick, quickly absorbed, their blood sugar goes up, and then it dumps. Yes. So then they get tired, so they go, oh my God, I'm tired again. I'm
they get
brain
hungry.
fog. I'm this, and I need something. So they have something else, and they're like. But they say, but I eat very well. And your main meals, yes, but you're having a lot of sugar. So you're just spiking and dumping. Your sugars are going up and down, and that's going to cause significant fatigue, brain fog, concentration issues, all of those things that come.
And you're mentioning processed foods here, and people say a little bit of pet peeve of mine. So maybe, but people say, I eat a whole grain breakfast. And it's like, it's probably the most, because you've got to process a grain to eat it. So they're highly processed. They're in a box.
Yeah.
And there's often square, they're with weird shapes or round or shaped like a bat with holes in it. Remember the ad?
Bat with holes.
Yeah. Like shaped like
Cricket
that.
bats.
That's extraordinarily processed. Yet those cereals, the Nutrigrains and the Wheat Bix, they're actually marketed as something healthy.
Yeah.
And so they're not, because they're highly processed.
Yeah, and it's funny because they have a lot of athletes that promote them. So get big, strong, have lots of energy. But the thing is, actually, they deplete your energy significantly.
One of them's Iron Man food.
That's right.
Remember that ad?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I don't know if it's still on.
I don't know. I don't know if they still sponsor it. But
surely not.
But yeah, the processing and the sugars, the high carb, not good.
I've got a mate in the 4-wheel drive club, and he's not a healthy eater. But guess what he has for dessert? Nutrigrain.
Really?
That's his dessert.
Oh, God.
Because, I love it. It's healthy and it tastes sweet. It's like, okay, think about that for a sec. It tastes sweet. Why?
Yeah.
Does it taste sweet? Because it's about a third of it's sugar.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary.
It is. And let me say, for athletes, yes, sugar is fine because that does then give them energy, right?
Yeah.
But it's all relative to what you're doing. If you're just not an athlete or you're not out, quite lean and then need that energy for the gym and having a bit of higher sugars, fine. But yes, just for the average Joe, no.
No, well, the average Joe or Jane eats their bowl of cereal and goes off to work.
Yeah.
Which is physically often not like we have a very lazy job physically. We just sit here and yep. But so we have to be careful of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Also, you mentioned food sensitivities, intolerance. This is a huge one, isn't it?
Yeah. So this, I guess, crosses over, diet into gut health, I guess, is a bit of a crossover. But food sensitivities or intolerances. I didn't put food allergies. That's completely different.
Yeah.
Different thing. But sensitivities or intolerances definitely can, because they create inflammation in the body. And anything that creates inflammation then impacts our mitochondria, therefore we don't produce enough energy. So any sort of food sensitivities, yes, they can cause significant fatigue as well. So
it's funny you mention inflammation. I've got a paper here on it, and it shows you how fatigued people are and what it's related to. And it's always related to 3 chemicals. C-reactive protein, which is inflammatory, interleukin-6, which is the same as C-reactive protein, it makes interleukin, and interferon gamma. 3 chemical measures are always elevated in people with fatigue.
Yeah.
Because it just causes inflammation, and inflammation causes fatigue.
Yeah.
So I'll get rid of that paper. That's an interesting paper.
Yeah.
That was published in the European Review of Aging and Physical Activity 2024.
That's a new recent one.
Yeah, they're all recent except for 1896.
That's right, exactly. So
it's funny, eh?
So the food sensitivities. So then that crosses over, I said, into gut health, and then obviously poor gut health can cause significant fatigue, brain fog, concentration issues, memory issues, all the things. So anything cognitive, and then the fatigue as well, physical and mental fatigue. And we've talked about so many times hyperpermeability. So that's when you have your gut becomes more permeable than it should, and you then get things crossing over, antigens and things crossing into the bloodstream, creating an immune response. Then you getting inflammation and all of that sort of thing. So that's part of it. And then the food sensitivities and intolerances can lead to hyperpermeability as well. So, you start off, generally there's some sort of imbalance in the microbiome that's creating that food sensitivity, because generally we're not born with food sensitivities.
No.
Allergies, yes, we can be, but food sensitivities generally develop from some sort of gut dysbiosis or imbalances in the gut. So then that can create that sensitivity or intolerance, then can lead to hyperpermeability. And then we have more inflammatory microbes that produce LPS. We've talked about lipopolysaccharides. Yeah. They cross into the bloodstream, cause an inflammation and immune response. Gut infections, so bacterial infections or parasitic infections or candidas, things like that. Can cause significant fatigue.
It's amazing, because I remember going back not too many years where gut permeability and leaky gut syndrome, which is called, was considered unscientific and not sort of thing. And it's like, are you serious? Because firstly, the gut leaks stuff, otherwise we wouldn't get fed.
Yeah, that's right.
I would drink that water, it'd go straight through.
Yeah.
So it's permeable to something or other.
Yes.
Is it that much of a stretch to think that just sometimes it's a bit more permeable to allow stuff in that shouldn't be in the body?
Yeah. And it's really funny because GPs prescribe prescription medications, right? Most of them contain gluten because gluten activates zonulin, which is the protein that opens up our gap junctions and creates a more permeable environment. So they're actually saying, no, it doesn't exist, but here, take this medication with gluten in it, then the gluten's in it to open the gap junctions to get the medication in. But there's no such thing as hyperpermeability.
I struggle. I've always wondered that, and I'd love to. And I don't want to pick on dietitians, but I've had arguments with dietitians that they say that this doesn't exist. And, it's just scary. I mean, now it's well tested. There's MRIs, there's all sorts of, it's all sorted. But I remember that this was a concept like Bernard Jensen concept, 1980. He talked about this and everyone talked about this in my naturopathy qualification for years. And it was like a thing. Yeah. And then all of a sudden people are saying it's not a thing. Yeah. And vitamin D helps heal the gut too.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, vitamin D.
So loads of things can do it. But it's incredible.
It is. And it's funny. I think a lot of it's in the language as well because leaky gut, there's no such thing as a leaky gut, but they'll accept gut hyperpermeability. It's same with when we were talking about adrenal fatigue. Yeah. There's no such thing as adrenal fatigue, but there is such thing as a HPA, axis dysregulation.
Absolutely.
So it's still all in the terms.
It is. And naturopathy has used terms that are a little bit ahead of its time.
Yeah.
And that means that it takes a bit for there's things that have been tried and tested for thousands of years, and then all of a sudden they discover turmeric's reduced inflammation, even though for thousands of years, the Indians have been using it to reduce inflammation. Yeah. And that's fine. Yeah. But I don't like that like they write it off before looking at it, and that bugs me a bit.
Yeah, they don't look into it.
Now your next one here is a tricky one. It's blood sugar dysregulation. Now you mentioned before about sugars going up and down. Yeah. Because I think one of the most common forms of fatigue is eating sugary stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and that's the thing. It gives you that instant hit. Yep. Because it's spiking your blood sugar, so of course you're creating more energy. But then it's giving you a dump fairly quickly as well because it's very processed very quickly. But diet is not the only way you can have blood sugar dysregulation.
Well, tell me more.
Well, dehydration, as I said. Yes. High stress can cause blood sugar dysregulation. Yeah, because you're spiking cortisol. Cortisol can dysregulate your blood sugar. A lot of athletes can have blood sugar dysregulation, believe it or not.
That's interesting.
So, yeah, I've seen probably not professional athletes, but, high-level athletes that have insulin resistance. So they can start off with blood sugar imbalances, and that is because their stress levels are through the roof because they're overtraining and that sort of stuff. So overtraining can cause blood sugar dysregulation. So it's not just the food you're taking in. So you can have a really healthy diet and still have issues with blood sugar and then leading on to insulin resistance as well.
Oh, absolutely. And you got to remember that stress is huge out there, and stress increases cortisol. Cortisol breaks down muscle tissue and makes lots of sugars. Yeah. So it's like you've eaten sugar having stress. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're fatigued after your stress, and it's like, what's that from? Oh, the stress has gone away. I can relax. I'm tired. But it could be just the fatigue from the low blood sugar levels. Yeah. From the high blood sugar levels. Yeah. The greatest cause of low blood sugar levels is high blood sugar levels.
Exactly.
It's kind of like people are going to cut that and go, oh, look at that idiot. Yeah. But that's fine.
So that can be a big one. So, people that say, but I don't eat lots of sugars, but I stress a lot, or I don't, I don't eat well enough during the days, and I don't eat enough protein, or I don't eat regularly throughout the day. I don't eat metabolically balanced meals throughout the day. So they can be eating good food, but not metabolically balanced meals, and they're still going to have blood sugar issues. And interestingly, then if you have blood sugar issues throughout the day, you can have problems sleeping at night. Yes. You can either have spikes, depending on what you've eaten at night or throughout the day, spikes or very low blood sugar. And a lot of the times that people wake up at night and they're wide awake, can be their blood sugar dropping. And then they're not sleeping, so then that's creating more fatigue, and so it's a vicious cycle. So
and orthodoxly we treat poor sleep, and I say orthodoxly because not us, but you will go to your GP and the GP will say, oh, what's going on in your life? Oh, I just can't sleep at the moment. Oh, here's some sleeping tablets. Yeah. And that's a really big cause of fatigue. Yeah. Because, you take them and the next morning you feel tired. There's still drugs hanging around the system, especially the ones you get from the pharmacy. The antihistamines, they last for 14 hours half-life. It's in your body the whole next day. Yeah. It's terrible.
Yeah. So that can be quite significant. And
speaking of neurotransmitters.
Speaking of neurotransmitters, so neurotransmitter deficiencies can cause fatigue as well.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So, any sort of dysregulation in some of these neurotransmitters can definitely impact our energy production.
Well, I'll give you a simple one, dopamine. Yeah. Dopamine is the precursor to noradrenaline, which is the precursor to adrenaline. Yeah. So if you've got low dopamine production, you're not going to have enough adrenaline.
No.
So you're going to have that adrenal problem and not enough adrenaline, which means you will feel fatigued.
Yeah.
I mean, if I went up behind you and gave you a big fright, you'd jump out with lots of cortisol and adrenaline, and then that'd all settle down. But imagine, if you're stressed a lot and you're getting out all day, every day at work or something, you're falling a heap at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely.
And neurotransmitters depleted. And, we're going to talk a little bit about them a bit later with things like serotonin, all sorts of things.
Yes, serotonin. So serotonin is a big one. Obviously, serotonin can then cause insomnia. So serotonin is a precursor to melatonin. So if you're not producing enough serotonin, you're not going to produce enough melatonin to get to sleep. So, serotonin is a big one. Norepinephrine, as you said.
And serotonin is mainly made in the gut.
Yes. Serotonin, dopamine, 80 to 90%.
Yeah, it's about 80-90%.
Well, it's made in the gut, and then there's little messengers that then climb up the vagus nerve to the brain, and let the brain know, hey, we need to make some more of this stuff. So, if you've got gut issues, then you can have neurotransmitter deficiencies, therefore fatigue that way as well.
Wow.
So everything, that's why I love the human body. And we literally know so little about it. Really, I think we know just a blip of what actually is there. But it's just the way everything connects I love, because I love to solve little mystery. Like I think I've said in the past I would have loved to have been a private detective because I like to solve mysteries.
Well, you are. A naturopath is a private detective.
Yeah.
The weird thing, I think I knew more about the human body when I graduated naturopathy college, because you thought you knew it all.
I know, right?
And then you learn something, you go, I didn't know anything.
You learn it and you go down a rabbit hole and you think, we really don't know much about the human body. I mean, we know a lot now, but I still think it's just a blip of what really is there. But we're learning, and, with technology, testing is becoming so much more advanced. We're learning a lot quicker. But I love how it's all connected. So, your gut health, as we said, can cause sugar imbalances, which then cause, blood sugar issues. It can cause low neurotransmitter production, which then causes fatigue that way. It can cause inflammation, which then impacts your mitochondria. So one thing. So if you're having a little bit of dysbiosis in the gut, it can create all these issues in all these different systems. So that's why I love that everything is connected. And that's why, naturopathically, we always try to trace things back to an initial incident, initial point when things changed, because it's generally, and it can be something really simple. So,
it's so tricky. And I like for 29 years, almost 30 years next year, I've been studying the human body, and I reckon I know less about it now than I did.
I feel like the more you learn, the less you know. The less you realise you know as you try to learn more, if that makes sense.
It's like when I was studying science and the universe.
Yeah, like quantum physics now, and man, that's just mind-blowing stuff. Look, I'll go down a rabbit hole.
Well, rabbit hole, I mean, like only 5% of the universe is made up of stuff, matter.
Yeah, the rest of the 95%, we can go into quantum physics like dark matter and all that sort of thing. That's so cool. But
dark matter, that makes up about 20% of the universe. We don't even know what that is.
No.
And then there's dark energy, makes up about 75%.
Yeah.
We don't know what that is.
No.
But how do we know it exists? Because we can see the universe accelerating away from us. We only discovered that 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the stuff we don't know in the body and the universe around us.
Yeah.
I was trying to explain the concept of antimatter to Beck the other day, and I couldn't, because antimatter destroys matter upon contact. Okay, that's what antimatter is.
Yeah.
It was discovered in 1932 when they discovered a positive electron, which is weird because electrons are negative. But antimatter, if it comes in contact with an electron, it literally destroys it into nothing.
Yeah.
So what we used to know is nothing. If you get a box, okay, and you suck all the air out of it, you suck everything out of it, and it's sitting in front of you, there's nothing in it, it's still got something in it, because it still creates matter and antimatter, because it's made of antimatter and matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but 1 minus 1 equals 0. So there's nothing there, but nothing equals two somethings.
Yeah.
And we've measured particles coming into existence or not. That's all quantum physics.
It's amazing. Even the human body, if you take out everything and just down to the atoms, we could fit our human body in the end of a needle.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we're basically space.
Yes.
If you look at the hard concept.
If you look at the electron, it's like our solar system.
Yeah. So the pinpoint, and then there's all this space around it. Yeah. And they've only seen there's nothing, but in this space there is a lot going on that we're just starting to learn about. Anyway, I don't know how we got into
Quarks.
that. But it's so cool. I love quantum physics. But
we're going to do a podcast on it.
I would love to.
Because it's a lot to do with health, and it's practical.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot. It is a lot to do with health, and Anyway, we could go all over that.
I'll take it back to fatigue. You ready for this one? You ready for this cross?
Yeah.
Well, with quantum mechanics, when that was discovered, we developed a PET scans, which is looking for cancer.
Yeah.
And cancer drives fatigue as well.
Yes, there you go.
And unfortunately, my second cousin she's in her 40s and she's got a terrible type of cancer. Unfortunately, stage 4, which is the worst stage. And she's getting treatment at the moment. But the thing that's killing her is the fatigue.
Yeah.
Now she has to now get someone out to help her get to the shower to have a shower.
Yeah.
So she's extraordinarily fatigued. So
is she doing chemotherapy?
Yep.
Yeah. So the chemotherapy really creates so much fatigue.
So all that sort of fatigue.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you something about fatigue and about what are some of the other diseases that cause fatigue?
So
what about depression?
Oh, well, yeah, depression definitely can cause fatigue. And I think a lot of that is because there's no motivation, to do anything. So then you sit, you don't eat properly, you don't get outside. So then you have nutrient deficiencies as well. So significant fatigue from depression.
And the worst thing about that fatigue is they don't do anything to help themselves because they're depressed.
Yes.
Because they've got no energy to.
Yes. It becomes a vicious cycle then.
Yeah, and you just it's like people who have nutritional insufficiencies and don't eat well because they can't be bothered, so they just get takeaway because it's easy, and they'll get Uber Eats and all that stuff that's around now. I've never used Uber Eats.
No, I haven't either. No. I mean, I can't get it where I am anyway.
Oh, yeah. Well,
but even when I lived in the cities, I've never got Uber Eats, no.
Now, another one here you've got as a fatigue-causing thing is ADD. Attention deficit disorder.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of this can be from neurotransmitter deficiencies, obviously. So if you've got a neurotransmitter deficiency, then that can create a lot of these issues as well. But yeah, ADD, even anxiety can cause a lot of fatigue as well, because if you've ever had anxiety, you get physical symptoms, you get very racy and that sort of thing, and then you can't sleep. And so any mental health issue can cause significant fatigue.
Yeah, well, ADHD or ADD, they treat with amphetamines.
Yes.
Which
it's
should
kind of the opposite.
pep you up.
Yes.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, that actually calms them down.
Yeah, it calms them down.
Yeah.
That biochemistry is weird.
I know.
And again, we don't know this shit. It's like you don't know what's going on in the brain, but we know amphetamines help. And that shouldn't. You give someone amphetamines, their heart should race and they should be bouncing off the walls.
Yeah, no, but it actually calms them down. So there you go. So it comes back to the human body that we just don't know.
Now, you got another one here. Low pain tolerance causes fatigue.
So that's all comes down to serotonin. So if you've got a serotonin deficiency, you can have a low pain tolerance. You can have impulse tendencies. You can have poor temper. You can have, performance anxiety.
God, this sounds like me.
Aggression. Poor dream recall is a big one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, for low serotonin. So low serotonin can cause insomnia, obviously. And then that can cause a lot of these issues. So if you have any of these issues, you've probably got low serotonin. You're not sleeping. Therefore, you're getting tired. Therefore, you're activating a stress response, which is creating more fatigue. Mm-hmm. So it's a bit of a vicious cycle. So any sort of neurotransmitter
terrible. And so fatigue is a weird one, because what causes it is multiple things. And I've got a few other causes here. We'll just skip through them quickly because we've got a bit of time.
Yeah.
What about things like you're going to love this, monotony?
Yeah.
If you're just bored, it's tiring, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's no stimulation. No stimulation.
It's like, you're doing a laborious task and you just get tired. And I've got another one for you. What about an electrolyte imbalance?
Yeah.
Like low sodium, potassium, and all that absolutely can cause fatigue.
Yeah, definitely.
And you got another one here. What about negative people?
Yeah, this is a big one. I guess this is something people probably I guess if you're maybe more in tune with yourself, you might realise that. But a lot of times negative people can really drain. People say they drain my energy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we go back to quantum physics and we've got, energy fields and all of that sort of stuff. And that's how, when you meet someone, sometimes you think, there's just something not right about them.
Yeah.
It's just that energy is just not, there's something wrong with that energy. So, or if people have more negativity they're putting out, it can be very, very draining. So, that actually is a thing. I mean,
it really is a thing.
And a lot of people too who who are more empathic, if you believe in all that sort of stuff, that can go out into a crowd of people and they can be drained significantly because they're picking up everyone's energy. They struggle when they go to shopping centres and things like that because they're around so many people because they're just picking up everyone's energy. So.
Well, also if there's someone close to you and all they do is whinge all day, you're just kind of going, stop whinging, please, because being negative and whinging go synonymously together. So they just complain about everything, and it literally fatigues you.
Yeah,
because you think, what can I do to help them? And your brain's going like this, and then you just go, stuff it. I can't. I got a couple on. What about this one? Electrosensitivity.
Yeah, electrosensitivity. EMFs as well, electromagnetic fields. So this is actually a thing scientifically.
This is a thing. Absolutely.
Proven thing that a lot of people can have significant sensitivities. It can activate. Some people can have. It can create mast cell activation syndrome. So this is a big one for people. It can, definitely impact their mitochondrial function. So some people can't be around EMFs at all because they really react quite badly. There's a case study I looked at when I was looking at something. I was researching something once, and it was for a child that had issues, behavioural issues. They weren't sleeping well. They moved the child from a room that their wall backed onto their
fuse box.
Their cable, the NBN box.
NBN box,
NBN box on the other side of the wall. So they moved the child into another bedroom, and he started sleeping better all of a sudden. So the EMFs can impact your sleep. It's a really common thing, but I've seen it with people that get significantly high histamine. So then that creates a lot of anxiety. They get anxiety from the histamines. They're not sleeping. They're having reactions, skin reactions, gut reactions, all that sort of thing. It can be the EMFs have just impacted them there and created mast cell activation syndrome, and so they can have really a lot of problems.
Well, you got to remember that when electricity flows, it creates electromagnetism. And electromagnetism can be frequencies like the phone and that sort of thing. So it actually goes and affects the human body. Yeah. And we know that. It's not just like a weird fake thing that goes on. I mean, it's quite disturbing. It really is quite sort of like, and people feel tired. And what people look for after that, unfortunately, is stimulants. They'll drink caffeine, coffees and all that. And you hear people, I've got a story. When I worked for Metagenics a million years ago, there was a meeting room upstairs and it was famous. It would be about the size of our podcast room, not very big. Yeah. And we'd go in there and I'd walk up there at 3 o'clock after a meeting. Yep, all good. And I swear that after being in there 5-10 minutes, you'd just be like this. And I don't know what it was and it was some sort of noise or some air conditioning thing. And there would be a guy that would almost fall asleep in a meeting of 6 people. Yeah. Almost, he just couldn't hack it. Yeah. And we had to move the room. Now the room was like a room and it was normal temperature. It was, but it really killed you. And even Mike Curley, the guy he would say, this room just makes it. And he was a real dynamic guy and healthy. And we'd all just be like, oh, my God, what's going on here? And it was something like that. Yeah. Don't know what it was. Don't work there. But we were all just like really tired in that room. It was kind of weird.
Yeah. I mean, you look at people who go out into nature and they say, I feel so calm and refreshed. And that's because they're getting away from a lot of the EMFs, obviously the pollution. So toxins is another one that can really impact us. So, I know somebody that used to live under the Story Bridge in Brisbane, like literally in one of the apartments underneath. So the house would always have a layer of black, in the bathroom and that sort of thing from the pollution coming in from if you don't live in Queensland or Australia. Or
busy bridge.
It's a very busy bridge, traffic bridge. And so the toxins, the pollution, so living in the city, just living in the city can make you fatigued because you're getting all the EMFs, you're getting all the toxins, the poor air quality, that type of thing. So, people that say they go away for the weekend out to the country, they feel so amazing that there's less pollution, you're getting oxygenation from the plants, you're getting away from the EMFs, all of that sort of thing. So it's definitely scientifically backed that it definitely has a huge impact, EMFs.
Oh, absolutely. And I just want to ask you, it's not on the list here, but earthing. I mean, my wife Beck goes out and stands on the grass. It makes her feel better. Yeah. And it does, because you got to remember that like lightning is electrons flowing from the earth back up the sky to balance the charge out. Of course it happens to us. Yeah. If we move through the air, we're knocking electrons off our outermost shell. It's again quantum mechanics, but it's knocking electrons off. And so you go to the earth and the electrons come back to the body. It helps you.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no ifs or buts about that.
No, it's like you go into the ocean. So the salt in the ocean can rebalance everything as well. So, when you come out of the ocean, you feel like, I feel so refreshed and I feel great. But, earthing or grounding, that's definitely a thing, sticking your feet in the ground or, people that live in high-rise apartments. So they live in the city. I used to be one of them. I've always lived in apartments until I moved to the country. I loved apartment living, and I always lived right in the cities.
Yes.
So I'd live in a high-rise in the city. I'd work in the city. I'd go to the gym, and so everything's concrete. So you wouldn't really be touching ground at all, and it can really dysregulate you significantly. You're not getting into the earth. So people might think that's woohoo, but there's actually a lot of research
absolutely
around that.
It's quite amazing. There's lots of things that cause. Probably one of the biggest thing is the inflammation, though. I think that if you've got, I remember when I had my arthritis and I was in hospital, so I was very, very inflamed, CRP over 100, which is super, super high. Should be below 3.
It should be 0, ideally.
Yeah, it should be 0. But it was always over 100. And I thought, I remember it got below 100. I thought, I was getting better. But I didn't know. I was 20. I didn't know. But I would wake up, have breakfast, I'd be in bed, and then I'd always say, all right, by about 9, I'll be back asleep. And then by 12, they'd do rounds, and then I'd sleep in the afternoon, and then woke up and have dinner. And I swear I slept for about 16 hours a day because I had such chronic inflammation. Now, if you back that off a bit, you're supposed to, like if you got the flu, and if I'm healthy right now, if I decided to go and have a nap here now for half an hour, I'd struggle to sleep tonight.
Yeah.
But when you're sick and you've got chronic inflammation, there's nothing to stop you sleeping during the day, and you'll still sleep at night.
Yeah.
It's absolutely staggering. I had COVID about a month ago now, it was a while ago, and I slept during the day because I was off sick and I just slept, and then I still slept at night perfectly. Yeah. And so the inflammation from the infection would make you sleep so much. So if you've got this chronic inflammation due to a gut infection or a chronic type of, anything, the dysregulation of sugar, adrenal, you've got this chronic inflammation, you're going to be tired all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
And
mold illness. And a lot of people that live, and I know some people that lived in mouldy environments that weren't aware that it was they were living in mould, and they were so tired, and brain fog and concentration issues. So mould is a whole other subject, can cause significant health issues, but the toxins, heavy metals, chemicals. So, working in an industry that you're in contact or exposed to a lot of chemicals.
Oh, God, when I was a chemist, I was tired all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Yeah. Like day and night. I wasn't very well.
Yeah.
That's when I had the arthritis and shit, and I was eating crap.
Twisties
for breakfast.
Yeah.
Because I get up, the shift was at 7.
Yeah.
And so, not like now where I get up at 4:30 and I'm fine. It's so unhealthy that you slept in as late as possible.
Yeah.
And so you just skip the breakfast thing and have a bag of twisties. And then for morning tea to have a donut with a chocolate milk.
Yeah.
I was 18 when I started work. Because when you started work, I was getting paid $260 in hand a week. Which is a lot of money back then.
A lot of money back then, yeah, that was.
I was paying board was 25, I think, for my mum. And this is back in 88. And so I had all this money to buy all this crap food with that I couldn't afford when I was at high school.
Yeah.
And of course, whenever you got money, you just bought crap food.
Yeah.
And I was literally tired all the time.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
And it wasn't relieved by sleep. And that's when you know something's wrong.
Yes.
You know, like if you're up watching Titmus last night, Adriana Titmus, the 400-metre swimmer, gold, she won. I watched the replay this morning. I wasn't up late.
I was going to say that's dedication.
But if you were doing that, then you would be tired today, but you'd be relieved when you go to bed a little bit earlier this morning. But this is the unrelieved sleep. Now, other things. What about medications? Do they cause you dramas?
Yeah. So this can be quite significant. So and a lot of people don't think about the fact that, obviously a lot of people are on medications, that they can cause significant fatigue. And people are like, I don't know why I'm so tired. But you look at the medications that you're taking. So antihistamines, big one. Obviously, that's a huge one.
Huge.
Antidepressants.
God, everyone's on
a lot of people are antidepressants, and maybe they're like, I don't really know why.
So there's 3 main classes.
Yeah, so tricyclic antidepressants, SSRIs,
and MAOs.
And MAOs. Yep.
So they all cause depression.
All cause fatigue. And all cause fatigue. And that's super. They're really common anti-nausea medications.
Yep. The anti-travel calms and those sort of things got antihistamines in it, which puts you to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
It make you feel terrible.
Yeah.
Awful.
Yeah.
What other drugs cause sleep?
Antipsychotics. Anxiety medications.
Yep.
Heart medications.
Heart medications?
Yeah, that's a fairly significant one. And I think I've seen clients in the past that have issues and they're on a heart medication. They just haven't put two and two together.
So we've got diuretics, potassium-sparing diuretics. We've got calcium channel blockers. We've got beta blockers. I was on beta blockers for a while when I was getting headaches and that for a while. Mm. It causes a condition called exercise intolerance.
Oh, really?
Because heart rate can't go up.
Yeah.
Because it blocks it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was so keen to exercise and I physically couldn't.
Yeah.
Because your heart rate couldn't go up, so you couldn't pump the blood any harder.
Yeah. Yeah, my dad had that. Stepdad that was on beta blockers when he had the AFib.
Atrial fibrillation,
yeah. So he got he got heart started 3 times, 4 times, and then he had to have an ablation. And then he had another heart starter and then finally stuck. So now he's off them. But he couldn't do anything. He's a really active person. Yeah. So, from the beta blockers. So, yes.
Wow.
Your high cholesterol medication, so statins, super common to have issues with the statins, obviously.
Super common drug too.
Yeah, really common. Muscle relaxants, pain medications.
Pain, opioids.
Yep. Any opioids, so that's a big one. Proton pump inhibitors. So
antacids.
Yeah, so that create
so far you've counted 90% of the pharmacy, yep.
Epilepsy medications.
Epilepsy medications are huge.
Yeah. So if you're on medications and you're really fatigued, obviously you've got issues if you're on a medication, there's a condition, but the medication itself could be really contributing to that fatigue as well as whatever the underlying condition is.
Like you can get Nexium over the counter now.
Yeah, 24-hour Nexium you can get now. So it lasts for 24 hours. You can't take it once a day. So you're pretty much just suppressing your acid. So therefore you're going to create significant nutrient deficiencies. We've talked about all that before with the proton pump inhibitors, so something as simple as that, saying, I've just got a bit of heartburn, so I'm taking some Nexium. I'm like, well, one, the heartburn's the symptom of something else, but then you're creating nutrient deficiency, so then you're tired, so then you're probably not exercising as much, you're maybe not eating as well, so therefore you're creating more of a problem. I'll say saying you may have heard before, I can't be bothered getting dinner, so I just get something quick. And it's usually something crap. Yeah.
So that's going to cause, that's almost every medication. Somebody's on them.
Pretty much.
That's huge. So we've talked about the adrenals and nutrient deficiencies and low everything and low hormones and aging and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, low hormones we didn't mention. So low estrogen, low testosterone, they can definitely
There's millions of causes to this. So it makes it difficult to figure out what's a good treatment for this.
Well, and that's the thing. You have to figure out what you have to figure out what is causing the fatigue to treat that. So we could say, yes, there are definitely nutrients and herbs that can help to increase energy, but there's no point giving those if the underlying condition is not addressed, because it's not going to work as well 100%. And it's going to be a temporary fix like everything else. So you have to figure out what's causing the fatigue, and that's why we kind of want to just lay out some of the causes, because there's a lot. So someone says, I'm fatigued, what can I do? I'm like, well, let's have to go through and figure out exactly what's causing that fatigue first, fix that, and then you won't have fatigue. So we won't have to give you anything to increase your energy, because you will then be producing your own effectively again. Okay,
so for example, if someone's on a simvastatin, which is a statin anti-cholesterol drug, that stops the production of coenzyme Q10.
Yeah.
So one solution to that could be coenzyme Q10.
Yes.
If someone's on a beta blocker because of blood pressure, you can put them on, say, magnesium.
Yes.
Did you see that?
Those reflexes, Steve.
Holy mackerel.
You're not tired?
Not tired, no, because I've on magnesium. I've got cat-like reflexes. For those who are listening, I knocked my drink bottle and it started to tip, and I grabbed it, and I just went to flick it.
Coming straight towards
I know it was going. I'm pretty impressed with that.
I'm pretty impressed, and it's on film, so you can go back and watch it.
That's going to be one of my highlights.
Yeah, she'll love it.
So if you're on a beta blocker, and you've got high blood pressure, you could take magnesium like I am, and not for my blood pressure, but it reduces blood pressure, so you may not need the beta blocker.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of times I've had clients, I've given them supplements to reduce their blood pressure. They've had to come off their blood pressure. I would never tell anyone to go off medications, and I always work around the medications.
Talk
but if
to
the
your doctor,
client wants to come off their medication, there's a lot you can do. Yeah, so you get off the medication, and then it increases their energy levels and all that sort of thing as well. So you need to find the root cause, like everything we say. You need to find the root cause to then treat that, and then that will help with your fatigue. But just taking supplements isn't going to fix the problem.
Not the good answer. It's really not.
No.
One such supplement, and it was highlighted in a study that was released a week ago, another one. This was published in the, what's this called? Rheumatic and musculoskeletal diseases paper. It's published July 15, 2024. So that's 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, 2 weeks
ago. And they were talking about energy supplements. And and they're talking, because this is a rheumatic paper, they talk about the fatigue and rheumatic diseases. Because there's inflammation, they're all fatigued. Everyone's fatigued. Yeah. So the question, and this is the title of the paper, it says, is there a role for novel supplements in the management of fatigue in rheumatic diseases? So things like NADH, niacinamide adenosine dinucleotide hydrogen, which is an energy supplement, they're basically paper concluded by saying no, because it's not the cause of it.
Yeah. That's right.
I mean, that's really good in the Krebs cycle and sort of all the theory. Yeah. But if you're not addressing the inflammation, it won't help.
That's right.
And it doesn't help these people.
Yeah.
So that's all good to take an, quote, energy supplement. Oh, I've never felt better. But your fatigue might be caused by low B3. Yeah. Mine might be caused by rheumatic disease.
Yeah.
Which means you're tired all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I still remember those days just sleeping the day away when I was in hospital.
Yeah.
I didn't even struggle to sleep at night at all.
Yeah, wow.
It was crazy shit. I don't know how many hours I was sleeping.
Yeah, yeah.
Real sick though I was.
Yeah, well, that's not good, is it?
Yeah. No.
So, I mean, you see people that get up in the morning and they say, I can't do anything until I have my coffee.
Yeah.
Or, at the middle of the day, I need to have something sweet because I'm so tired. I'm like, that's not normal. It's not healthy. You shouldn't need to have external stimulants to help you with your energy. If you're healthy, everything's working well, everything's in balance, you create enough of your own energy. Yeah. So you shouldn't need to be getting up and relying on coffee. So if you are, what's the reason?
Yeah, exactly.
And it could be something as simple as not sleeping well, but it could be something underlying. Could have a bit of a gut issue going on, something creating inflammation. You could have some nutrient deficiencies.
Yep.
So you want to look into all of that, and then you may not need the stimulants to help you through the day then. You shouldn't need them.
Now, you mentioned mitochondrial dysfunction before, and you've got some supplements for the mitochondria, so the CoQ10s.
Yeah.
You've got some good ones there. Creatine is an interesting one.
Creatine's great. I've actually started prescribing creatine a lot more now in clinic, for so many things. So
it's not just for muscly people like me?
No, not just for muscly people like you, Steve. You don't need any more creatine. Look at you.
Nah, look, I'm rippling.
You are rippling.
For those who are listening, I'm a rippling. Those who are watching, sorry, lying. But you've got some great supplements here and some ideas, and you've got the iron there, which of course is great. But if you're loaded with iron, see, another cause of fatigue is hemochromatosis.
Exactly, high iron.
High iron.
Yeah, and inflammation. So, that's why you want to, you don't supplement with these nutrients until you've done testing.
Yes.
You want to see, particularly irons and things like that. But CoQ10s can be really good. Obviously, acetyl-L-carnitine is really good.
That is good.
Full of lipoic acid. All those mitochondrial nutrients are really good. Resveratrol. Vitamin C, I love vitamin C. It's very good for the adrenals. So, obviously magnesium, your Bs, yes, all of that sort of thing. But don't just take those and just trot along. You look for the underlying causes. And then that should help reduce your fatigue, and then you should be firing, good to go. No excuses, go to the gym, get up in the morning.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a great excuse remover, having energy.
Yeah.
And, I remember people, saying, I wake up at 5 in the morning, I can't get back to sleep. And I think to myself, why are you trying to get back to sleep at 5? Shouldn't you be up going, what time did you wake up this morning, Nic?
3:20 this morning. I got up.
You look all right.
I feel tired. I do feel tired today, but I was up at 3:20 and drove for 4 hours. So I get tired.
Yeah, and that's not fatigue, that's tiredness.
Yeah.
And, you might go to bed tonight at 8. I don't know. If you're pretty old, so pretty early.
Probably pretty early. Yeah, put my nana blanket on my lap and have my dinner at 5 and be in bed knitting my. Yeah, no, I'm not there yet.
I am a huge fan of not going to sleep on a full stomach.
Yeah.
I'm an early eater person, and I think that's a reason to be fatigued.
Yeah,
is
definitely.
if you overeat before you go to bed and you're trying to sleep into a deep sleep when you got a full belly full of food.
Yeah, definitely.
And I eat a large evening meal.
Yeah,
but you eat it early.
Yeah.
And then you watch the Olympics and watch Australia. We're, right as we speak, we're on top of the gold tally.
Are we?
We are on top of the medal tally.
We always are, though, because of the swimmers. And then when the athletics comes in, we go down.
We're going to dive a bit. But right now, and after day 1, we are literally at the top.
There you go Australia.
So I'm not going to watch it from now on. It's just just assume we win.
Yeah, of course.
Now, another thing is about these stupid phones that you sit beside your head of your bed and you know what I mean? That can lead to fatigue in that too.
Yeah, don't have your phones near your bed. I did for a long time. I now put it out in the kitchen, leave it out in the kitchen unless I've got to use it as an alarm sometimes. Yeah. But otherwise, get rid of all that stuff and light, anyway, all that sort of sleep stuff.
Yeah, we've done sleep stuff.
But yeah, so if you have fatigue that's not, it doesn't get better from sleep, then you've got something going on. You need to look at the underlying cause and fix that. So yeah, I thought hopefully this has just shown some of the more the reasons for fatigue that you may not think of initially that maybe you might need to look into if you have had fatigue for quite some time and it's not improving.
Yeah. No, it's great, and you've done a great job putting all this together because you mainly did this. I've got some of the papers, but it's quite remarkable. And, I mean, there's so many causes of fatigue, but if it's not relieved by sleep, look into it. Look at the drugs. Look at the nutrients. Look at your life, your EMFs, all those stresses, infections, inflammation, and if get some tests done. Go see a naturopath. Get some blood tests for inflammation, whatever's going on. Look at your magnesium level. If you're going to test magnesium, get a red blood cell magnesium, not just a serum one, because 99% of the magnesium's in your cells. That's right, exactly. But wow, what a tricky one to treat. Fatigue, and you get every patient's got fatigue. Pretty much, most of them, yeah. Well, that's about all we got time for. Yeah. So we'll see you all next week. Yeah, see you guys. See ya.